Hello, friends. Let's talk about such an important issue in the life of every person as having a good education. In particular, we will talk not only about school, but also about higher education, about colleges and universities. I once had an interesting discussion with one of my interlocutors, one might even say an argument. He argued that all professions are needed and all professions are important, and it is not at all necessary for a young person today to get some kind of higher education in order to become successful, to achieve financial well-being. My interlocutor gave examples of famous people who dropped out of university and achieved success. In general, when considering this issue, people in blue-collar jobs receive a higher salary than some teachers or people with higher education. They say that you can learn to lay tiles very well or sell something and have a good income all your life, a blue-collar job that will always feed you. In addition, of course, my friend continued to give examples of businesspersons without any higher education. They say that it is not at all necessary to graduate from university in order to become a successful and self-sufficient person. Here I tried to enter into some discussion with the interlocutor and said something like this: but I would like my children, grandchildren and descendants to go to college or university, so that they could get a higher education. Well, you will say, there is no harm in wanting. No one will forbid you to want. However, of course, much does not depend on our desires. I immediately received counterarguments to this remark. I saw bewilderment and misunderstanding in the eyes of the interlocutor. In addition, I, of course, will explain my position in more detail. I have great respect for representatives of all professions without exception, including blue-collar jobs, low-skilled jobs. There are no more respected or less respected professions. Any honest and useful work is important for society. Moreover, by the way, I have nothing against my children working as janitors, apprentices and cooks later. I have nothing. Alternatively, anything else that does not require higher education. Let them work as anyone they want. If it is truly their calling. I will only be proud of such close relatives who earn their bread through physical labor or low-skilled work. Nevertheless, the question is different. I would like to shift the focus to other important factors. The question is that a person is formed as an individual under the influence, first, of his environment. And I would like my children to someday feel what a university environment is, university friends, what a campus is, communication in a circle of the same students, namely at a university. So that they have the opportunity to immerse themselves in that atmosphere, so that their formation takes place in communication with other equally smart and successful children, with children from good families. From families with good habits, with the right upbringing. It is no secret that the environment forms us, establishes our beliefs in life, even character. It is not for nothing that there is a saying, you will learn your mind from the people you associate with. With all due respect to vocational schools or other forms of secondary specialized education, but the reality is that people with blue-collar jobs, unfortunately, were deprived of that inspired environment on campus, within the walls of a university, that communication, that atmosphere that exists in higher educational institutions. I am in no way putting up any clichés, not hanging labels, but we see the lifestyle that people without higher education often lead. Interest in drinking alcohol after work, after studying at a technical school, going for a smoke break, smoking. As for hobbies, the maximum is fishing and playing cards. Often, unfortunately, this is all that is limited for such people. People rarely visit theaters and museums while receiving a blue-collar job, listen to and understand classical music. Of course, there are exceptions. I will immediately stipulate that I am in no way painting everyone with the same brush, but simply trying to catch the general trend, to convey to you some obvious patterns. Therefore, I repeat, I would like my children to receive a higher education. How things will turn out in reality, I do not know, but such wishes are always present in me. Let them later, if they want, not work in their main specialty, in the profile of this higher education, realize themselves in anything, become at least tilers, at least janitors. Let them work and honestly earn their piece of bread. To which my comrade, interlocutor immediately retorted, everything is clear, you just want the children to receive formal paper documents, diplomas of education. No, I repeat, the issue is not in the documents, but in the university environment, in the social circle that children find themselves in during their studies. First in kindergarten, then in school, and then in university. If you go straight from school to work or learn a trade, then there will be a great temptation after classes to go not with a group to a museum or theater, but to get a more down-to-earth experience. You will say that students at the university can also throw alcoholic parties, can behave inappropriately, and can also be unlucky with their surroundings. This is certainly true, but on average, the level of intelligence and upbringing of people with whom young people communicate is higher in an intelligent environment, among young people who have passed a certain selection in the form of entrance examinations, exams, the opportunity to pay for education. You can't insure yourself against any troubles, but still, if I am asked such a question, would I like my children to go to university, I will still answer that I would like to. Our children, as we know, are our future, in some way the continuation of life after our death. And we will have to make every effort to ensure that the children are admitted to some university, so that this option becomes available to them in life. Whether it is a humanitarian university, a law school, a medical school, or an economic school, any other, it is not so important. Let them choose the direction themselves. What is important is that any university teaches such sciences as philosophy, logic, social sciences. There is an environment, that necessary student environment, a culture that is extremely important for any young person. The environment a person gets into will determine what kind of friends he will have later, what names will fill his address book and how his entire future will turn out. No matter how unfair it may sound. In the end, who your child will most likely tie the knot with, who he will marry. The probability of meeting an educated, spiritual and decent person is somewhat higher in the environment where the selection initially took place based on certain intellectual qualities, you must agree. I repeat, there are very kind, decent people in any profession, in any job, but it is important what kind of education they received, what kind of society surrounded this person, whether he had decent and cultured relatives to look up to. Someone in childhood had a very good primary school, intelligent and kind teachers who brought up important spiritual qualities in him for the rest of his life. Today, even without higher education, such people are worthy members of society. Perhaps, even the wise words of an educator, a teacher in elementary school, who showed by his example what tact is, what tactlessness is, were enough for you. However, someone had to put this education, these qualities into your head. By the way, about how to recognize a decent person and how to find true love, there was a separate very useful video on this channel. It is called, How to Recognize a Decent Person. A way to filter out bad people. The profession is not important, what is important is the environment in which you developed as a person, who the person imitated, who he took an example from. It is no secret that from a biological point of view, people are Homo sapiens, primates and, like all primates, from childhood we do nothing but imitate each other. We do not choose our parents and our family at birth, but you must agree, we are free to choose our future and present environment. We ourselves determine with whom we communicate and with whom we do not. With educated and intelligent people or with some alcoholic, drug addict or just a limited person whose only interests are watching TV series and drinking in the evenings. That is why I am convinced of the importance of higher education. Not because I am a snob and despise someone. It is not so. The food that programmers, engineers or doctors eat was grown, cooked and put on our tables by such simple people, representatives of blue-collar professions, farmers. There is no disrespect or snobbery here on my part. Just simple and logical reasoning. Interesting fact, scientists in the field of economics have established that the most important factor, the most important variable on which it depends whether a person will become financially well-off, rich or not, is simple geography in place of birth. Address and place of registration, place of birth. Were you born in a rich country or a poor one, in a city or in a remote village? This factor correlates most with a person's average income and, ultimately, correlates with a person's level of success in life. Imagine, among hundreds of other factors, the most important is precisely the banal factor of our residential address. In countries where capitalist relations have existed for centuries, there is a completely paradoxical situation. Children living in different parts of the same street or in different neighborhoods of the same city are enrolled in different educational institutions, different schools, and their fates develop in completely different ways. Those who have money try to give their children a good education. How can we talk about the results of the marshmallow test that we have all heard about? This marshmallow test has a lower correlation with the level of wealth and well-being of a child in the future than a simple residential address and place of birth. No one can choose where to be born, in Africa, in a poor country, or in well-fed Europe, in the USA, in Germany, or in France. However, we can choose our social circle, choose our own path in life. These are my thoughts, friends. These are my thoughts. Perhaps you will disagree with something. Perhaps you will write comments. Nevertheless, don't rush to claim, like my interlocutor, that you don't care whether your loved ones, children or grandchildren have a higher education or no education at all. To be honest, you probably do care. Life is not divided into black and white, and there are still many halftones, shades, indirect factors that at first glance seem non-obvious. However, they are worth considering. Subscribe to this channel. Thank you for your attention and see you soon.